Hello Earthlings! Mankind is threatened by the epidemic of the coronavirus disease 2019, in abbreviated form COVID-19, caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, in abbreviated form SARS-CoV-2. Regrettably, however, huge amount of people still underestimates the seriousness of the situation, behaves thoughtlessly and lightheartedly. In this connection, in this introductory video, I will substantiate seriousness of the situation, importance of taking all necessary measures and obeying all necessary rules, including quarantine, using all necessary personal protective equipment, including respiratory protective equipment, including surgical masks, also known as procedure masks, medical masks, or simply as face masks. I will discuss in detail classification, structure, and principle of operation of respiratory protective equipment, in abbreviated form RPE, in the next videos. Also, I will discuss applicability of RPE for protection against biological threats, including viruses, including SARS-CoV-2, in the next videos. Also, I want to note that in this video, as well as in the next videos, I will refer to authoritative sources of information to prove my words. All references will be available in the description below the video, so if you wish, you can investigate them in detail. If you have something you'd like to share, or if any questions will occur while watching the video, feel free to leave your comments below the video. First of all, we need to clarify lethality and severity of COVID-19. Also, we need to clarify the difference between mortality rate and lethality rate, or more correctly, case fatality rate, in abbreviated form CFR. Mortality rate or death rate is a measure of the number of deaths in a particular population, scaled to the size of that population per unit of time. Mortality rate is typically expressed in units of deaths per 1,000 individuals per year. Thus, a mortality rate of 9.5 in a population of 1,000 would mean 9.5 deaths per year in that entire population, or 0.95% out of the total. Case fatality rate, sometimes called case fatality risk, is the proportion of deaths from a certain disease compared to the total number of people diagnosed with the disease for a certain period of time. A CFR is conventionally expressed as a percentage and represents a measure of disease severity. A CFR can only be considered final when all the cases have been resolved, either died or recovered. The preliminary CFR, for example, during the course of an outbreak with a high daily increase and low resolution time, would be substantially lower than the final CFR. So, the overall global case fatality rate of COVID-19 is approximately 4.5%, based on World Health Organization data as of 29th of March 2020, reference number 1. Current case fatality rates vary between countries. For example, Italy 11%, Iran 7%, Spain 8%, United Kingdom 6%. About 15% of infections are severe, requiring oxygen, and 5% are critical infections, requiring ventilation, reference number 2. According to data analysis of 1,099 patients, as of 28th February 2020, 91.1% of patients received a diagnosis of pneumonia, reference number 3. In view of the above, it becomes clear that CFR may increase up to 20% or even more in case of healthcare system collapse. And that's what partly happens in such countries as Italy, Iran, Spain and France, where situation is very difficult. There is huge amount of information sources, for example reference number 4. A few words about the website where statistics on COVID-19 is collected. Here you can view the number of deaths, confirmed, recovered and active cases for any country or overall in the world. Also, there is a graph of the number of confirmed cases as a function of time for each country. For some countries, statistics for states, regions, provinces and so on is provided. Statistics is updated constantly, nearly every hour. Main route of infection transmission is by respiratory droplets, for instance coughing, sneezing, breathing. It may also spread when one touches a contaminated surface and then touches their eyes, nose or mouth, reference number 5. The virus survives for hours to days on surfaces, reference number 6, reference number 7. Specifically, the virus was found to be detectable for up to 3 days on plastic and stainless steel, for 1 day on cardboard, and for up to 4 hours on copper, reference number 8. This, however, varies based on the humidity and temperature, reference number 9. Cunning of COVID-19, among other things, lies in its incubation period, and more specifically, latency period. That is, an infected person may be contagious even without exhibiting any symptoms. Reference number 10, reference number 11. Under such circumstances, every person should be considered as a potential source of infection. Needless to say, what chain of infections may cause one infected person in a crowd, for example in a supermarket or in a public transport. In view of the above, COVID-19 becomes very dangerous in terms of speed of the epidemic's spread. That's why quarantine and other measures are taken. That's why it is absolutely necessary to use all appropriate personal protective equipment, including respiratory protective equipment, including medical face masks. However, as much as you dislike it, you should consider yourself as a potential infection source and take measures to protect others from yourself. Here we, by the way, have come close to the question of efficiency of medical face masks. Medical face masks will be discussed in detail in one of the next videos, but nevertheless, I have to jump ahead a little. As to the claim that medical face masks do not protect from COVID-19 and viruses in general. Yes, they are not designed to protect the wearer from inhaling airborne bacteria or virus particles. Their main designation is to create a barrier to block direct transmission of relatively large particles, such as droplets. For example, from a surgeon to a patient, for example through open wounds. In view of the above, the necessity of the mass usage of medical face masks in the context of the epidemic becomes obvious. For more information, you can view the reference number 12. Also, I have to point out that the claim that medical face masks will not protect you at all against COVID-19 and against viruses in general is, to put it mildly, controversial. Nevertheless, medical face masks will provide certain level of protection. And definitely, medical face masks is better than nothing. This will be discussed in more detail in one of the next videos. Also, I want to say that for the purpose of epidemic suppression, there is no fundamental difference between medical face masks and homemade masks. For example, a cotton gauze mask or a simple cloth mask. Homemade masks even have some advantages. For example, cotton gauze masks can be disinfected through a high temperature, for example, by an ironing. Medical face masks are not as much heat resistant as cotton and can be easily damaged if high enough temperature is applied. Such disinfection is necessary to inactivate or destroy not only bacteria or other pathogenic substances from the outer side of the mask, but also our own microbes that land on the inner side of the mask during exhalation to prevent those microbes' excessive growth. One more thing where I have to jump ahead a little, because not only every day counts now, but every hour, and I'll need much time and energy to create the next video. It's about respirator and separate respirator filters protection classes, or in other words, their efficiency levels. The higher the protective class, the better protection it provides. So the higher the protective class of respirators is used to protect healthcare workers or anyone who has a direct contact with infected persons, the better it is, and the lower is the probability of an infection. The USA, Europe and Russia have different classification, but appropriate highest class respirators or filters will have one of the following markings: P100, R100, N100, P3SL, P3. For the second class, P99, R99, N99, FFP3SL, FFP3. And for the lowest, to be exact the lowest in the USA, that is the less protective class, P95, R95, N95, FFP2SL, FFP2, P2SL, P2. Also, you have to pay particular attention to the fit testing of the respirator. This is achieved by tightly pressing the mask flush against the face, without gaps, to ensure an efficient seal on the mask perimeter. You should choose such a model, style and size of the respirator mask which achieves the best seal, because leakage will significantly reduce protection effectiveness, no matter how high the respirator protection class is. Such seal check should be made each time a respirator is put on, and before entering into a contaminated air. I'll discuss all of these things in more detail in one of the next videos. The aim of taking all necessary measures and using all necessary personal protective equipment is to gain time and avoid mass morbidity and healthcare system collapse. To have enough healthcare system capacity for such an amount of illnesses that will occur, which is also known as flattening the curve, so that the system could function decently for a long period of time, as long as it takes to finish vaccine testing, production, and performing mass vaccination. This is the only way of minimum casualties. Even if we assume that CFR is 4% and that without vaccination 50% of Earth population will be infected, then casualties will exceed 120 million of people. Regarding vaccination, there are some assumptions and cautions, but that is the subject of a separate video. And no matter whether vaccination will be performed or not, it is anyway necessary to minimize growth rate of the epidemic to prevent healthcare and not only healthcare system collapse. In addition to the foregoing, I want to underline that my goal is not to spread panic. Panic is counterproductive and it should be avoided. In addition to educational, my goal is to mobilize you, initiate you to start taking all necessary measures and using all necessary personal protective equipment, and also to raise your morale in the current situation. Consider it as a preparation for a battle, confrontation if you wish. SARS-CoV-2 per se is hostile to us humans' life form. Slight fear or anxiety will assist you during the initial stage, because their influence in such dosage is directed against carelessness and inaction. If you think that COVID-19 epidemic will bypass you, that it is somewhere about there and not at your place, that you will peacefully sit and monitor developments through TV or internet, then you're completely wrong. You're not spectators anymore, now you are the actors. Outcome of the battle with the epidemic depends on you, on each of you. If the vast majority will take all necessary measures and use all necessary personal protective equipment, then, undoubtedly, outcome will be successful with minimum casualties. Enemy will be defeated, victory will be ours. Also, I want to mark that in the struggle with COVID-19, besides taking quarantine and other necessary measures and using necessary personal protective equipment that can be combined in one group, let's call it physical measures, there are two more groups that are crucial. Second group is a package of measures that are aimed to strengthen immunity and to maintain it on as high level as possible. This includes preventing overwork, fatigue, exhaustion, and so on, along with stress minimization. Third group of measures, that is inextricably linked with the second group, can be called moral and spiritual measures. Maybe I'll create a separate video about this group of measures. Link on that video will be added in the description below this video and will also appear in the upper right corner of this video as a bubble help, also known on YouTube as a card. I have to emphasize that each of three groups is equally important and crucial. Almost everywhere I see that people promote importance and sufficiency of only one of these three groups, or at best of two of them, totally ignoring other groups. It is completely wrong to rely on only one of these groups. Synergy of all three groups is needed. Let's meet our enemy fully armed. Also, I would suggest looking at the current situation from a positive perspective, in terms of what lessons we can learn, and try to turn misfortune to good account. Besides the fact that this situation can be viewed as a specific exercise, although cruel, exam for each country and for world healthcare and collective security system in general, current situation can become such a factor that will allow society to unite to display its best qualities. Also, I want to mark significance of volunteers and mutual support in general. If you are young, healthy, have strength and desire to help, and especially if you have personal protective equipment, then help those who are in the risk group. Unite, organize volunteer groups, allot and coordinate tasks, and no matter on what level, neighborhood, city, region or country. If you know such platforms that already exist, please write them in the comments. I'll add links to those platforms in the description below the video. Also, I would appreciate it if you will share this video with others, especially with those who still don't believe in the seriousness of the situation and importance of taking all necessary measures. And maybe it will save someone's life. In conclusion, I'll repeat it once again. Act. Outcome of the battle with the epidemic is in your hands.